Hi, welcome to this week's project. This week's project I'm wanting to talk about something a bit different. I'm not going to be actually really making anything. I'm going to be talking about bandsaw box handles and about two of the techniques that I use for my boxes, which will give you ideas to use. I like tree boxes. That tends to be where my area is. Any shapes, any amount of drawers, but it's the finish in the box that I always find is quite effective. I did a round tree box, and I'll just show you the picture for that in a second. And on that I did small wooden leaves as the drawer pulls, and I made those just by, I actually went onto Google, found an image of a leaf, duplicated the copy and then printed it out in the size that I needed it for a specific box, and then, I mean, these are quite detailed, but all I wanted to do is cut the outer edge as closest to that as possible. And I'll be doing it in just, it depends what size of box for the thickness. For demo purposes I'm just using this bit, which is probably about 3/4 of an inch, but I would probably actually sit that on the side and cut two out of that, so it would be fine for pulling out the box. And the first part that I'll do is, which I'll take you through, but I'll need to move the camera, is cutting it out and mounting it onto this, and then I'll be using the scroll saw with just a straight blade on it to cut it out, and then we'll go on to show you how I complete it after that. So I've cut my small leaf out, got a piece of wood, and I'm just going to use stick and spray. There's plenty of these, though they're just repositioning adhesive, and I'll spray a little bit onto the back of that. Now I'm going to go with the grain for this, purely because of the next part that I'll show you. So just stick that onto there, and then to stop it flapping around I always stick a little bit of sellotape as well. Right, on this is my scroll saw here, and on this scroll saw, most scroll saws have a little arm to hold the wood down. I don't use that a lot. You should do. It's a lot safer, and sometimes the wood does bounce up and down with me. So that's why you'll notice it's not here. And also I've got a little blower on here which blows away the dust, but I don't have that on here neither. So I'm going to cut out this shape now. It hasn't got to be too accurate. I will try and get these, if I can, as close to that as I can anyway, but sometimes a bit of jerking, it can be a bit messy. Right, just plug this in. Okay, be a bit noisy now. So that's it done. I'll do a little bit of adjusting on some of that cut, but it didn't need to be perfect. I wasn't looking for a perfect cut. So what I'll do now is I'll get the wee Dremel and we'll shape it now. We'll just round off the edges. Like I say, I mean, sometimes I cut them in two, and I would do that on here, but between a clamp, and then I would get two out of that. Sometimes I cut it on really thick pieces of wood and then slice them down to the size that I'm wanting. But that's the basic shape now. So I'll go away and I'll get the Dremel, and then we'll carry on and show you what I'm doing there. Just back, ready to start shaping it now. So I'll get the Dremel on. It'll be a bit noisy again. Usually try and round off some of the edges. Give it a smoother transition. So as you can see, it's nice and smooth. It's got a nice round edge to it. Just a slight indent down the middle, just where the vein is. Okay, so that's that done. It's just a slight, I don't know if you can see it very well, the slight bevel down the middle. Right, we'll go on to the next bit now. Also, put that on your bench sander, flatten it off because you want it to sit flat on your box for opening. So the next bit will be done in the house, and I'm going to get the wood burner out for the next bit. Just to try and make it as effective as possible. I would burn the veins from the leafing. So that'll be the next bit. Right, that's us ready to start burning onto the wood now. I've got my pen ready. I have a coal wood detailer wood burner, so the tips are just complete on this one. It's a great little machine. So I've got my outline here, and I will do something similar to that. It'll not be quite the same, but I just kept that there as a little bit of reference. So it's basically quite straightforward now. I usually just tend to burn in. I'm going to burn quite thick into here. A bit lighter at the end there. And then I'm just going to go way up like that. And that's basically all I do on there. Very straightforward. I'll take a wee bit of sandpaper on that now, just to fade the lines a wee bit. Just switch this off. Once you get a little bit of sandpaper on it, it'll smooth it out a little bit. I use sand sealer then on it. Sorry, it's not very not very good light in the living room here. So that would be it. That would be just as quick as that. You could do a whole set of, 15, 20, depending on how many drawers you've got, and you could do it lighter or darker, just whatever you choose. I shall post those pictures up again of a box that I've used this method for handles on. So it doesn't take that long really to do these. Like I say, I could have cut this in half and used it for 2 handles. That'd be way too thick for any drawer. But it doesn't take long to do, really effective, and it just finishes the box nice. So that's the wooden ones. And I'm going to come back and show you another way I finish boxes. And that bit's coming next. So the other method that I use, this is actually a box that somebody asked me to create, and they wanted a leaf and some ladybirds on it. This is made from Sculpey or Fimo clay. So I did that for somebody and just baked them and put them onto the box, and it can be quite effective. Just adds a little bit of something different to it. It's not something I do that often, and it's usually upon request that somebody will ask me for something. But this stuff is also really good for making handles out of. And one of the big boxes that I do, I have made all the handles from it. So I'll show you a picture of that box now. So this is the clays that I use for that. It's the Fimo, the Sculpey, and this is also in the UK we have Hobbycraft, and they do their own one, and you can get it in a selection of different colours. You get reds and I think greens as well, and black. So there's a selection of those colours. But the best ones to use really is either Sculpey or the Fimo clay. I quite like the Fimo soft because it's easy to mould. And with this type of thing, you can do, like on the box that I just showed you, green leaves. These are just some that I have sitting in a box. I didn't make these just now. So those can be done in several different sizes. And they can be quite effective. On that particular box, that's the only type of handles I do, is those green leaves. And I only have ever done a few of those boxes, just on usually on request of somebody asking for them. But you can do that. I also made a box one time and it had these handles. Like I say, it comes down to people's style on what they want on the box, and some people really like the colour and some people just don't. So it really very much depends on what the customer wants. Ladybirds, like I say, I just made these from the clay. You find tutorials on YouTube showing you how to make these. Also roses, they're very effective, and I did actually want to use those as handles, but I didn't think they were hardy enough because the leaves might break on them if they're grabbed wrong. But those could be put onto the top of a box and they would look quite effective as well. And so that's just a couple more of this, a red rose there, and then just another yellow one. So it's just about thinking out the box really when you're literally when you're looking at handles. You don't need to always go for wood. I mean, the the box that has the ladybirds on and the leaf, that's just a simple piece of wood that I've used for that, and I just gave it a little bit of a curvy shape and just cut it nice and thin, and it opens up that lovely. So it doesn't always have to be made from wood, you can use other stuff to make it. You might get a bit of driftwood as well, just a small piece of driftwood, and you could just cut that and put them onto boxes. These are so simple to make. You basically roll the clay out. I just used a little, you get different plastic knives and that with the clay, and I just basically cut it out to that shape, and then just used a bit of, you can just use lacquer on the top of them, but you do get special glaze to put on the clay once they're baked. Quite solid. I've not had, because when I make the boxes, you virtually, well, UK customers, if they ever have an issue with a box, they can come back to me at any point. It doesn't cost them anything. I do it because I believe that my work is solid and should last for years. I mean, these boxes I make should outlive me. But I've never ever had anybody come back with anything breaking. So, I mean, this particular box that I made here, it was actually a remake. The last box that I did, it had a knot in it, and unfortunately the person, I think, left it in a damp room, and the knot moved and it cracked the wood. And I mean, these things can happen. I do put epoxy round knots when I do those, but you know, not everybody keeps them in a house. Sometimes they're kept in a cupboard and it might be a bit cold and damp, and the clay can get soft in that conditions as well. So but it wasn't a problem. I actually just completely cut a new box for her and made that. It wasn't a problem to do that. So that's it. So that's the wooden ones that I've done, and I use a wood burner for that, and this is the clay ones that I make. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas on doing something a little bit different on your boxes. These can also be used for decoration. I did one box one time and I actually did ivy coming up the side, and I did it in clay. Didn't repeat it again because it's too delicate, and it would be a box that would need to be sit and looked at rather than be used. And most of my boxes are for practical uses, for putting jewellery in. So that's it. So hopefully giving you a few ideas. Any questions, leave them in the comments. If you've liked what you've seen, give me the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already and you want to see more of what I'm doing, press that subscribe button. Thanks very much.